Yesterday you said that wanting and craving are not the same.
Yeah.
In my mind, I only see intensity as the difference.
Right.
Is there more?
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, the intensity. Secondly, wanting something itself is not craving. The craving is when the mind becomes obsessed by it. So when we talk about craving and attachment, you know there's craving in there where if what it is that you want is available to you, and when you take it away, if there's any resistance there, then you know there's been attachment there. There's been craving over there. But wanting specifically something is one thing. Like having a goal in the lay life is okay, completely fine. And working towards that goal is completely fine as well. But being obsessed by it, which is where you are only looking at the outcome of, or the fruit of your actions, let's say, the outcome of however it is, whatever it is you're doing, where is that going to take me and when will I get that goal? So the obsession gets in the way of efficiently doing whatever it is that you're doing to get that goal.
Delson, you may have at least partly answered this today. My question is, what is the advantage of staying in cessation for longer? So 6 days as opposed to 1 day. Now, today you said, with the experience of cessation, you don't want to do anything, you just want to rest in it. And that may be part of the answer, that it's very pleasant, but is that the full answer?
So it's bragging rights, being able to, you know. You think about what happens with cessation is you give complete rest to the system. Complete rest. So if you can rest, like the nervous system is at almost complete rest in terms of your sensory basis. That's what I was talking about, where the faculties are clear, which means that there's no traffic of sensory data going on. And if you can have that for 6 days, you can imagine the quality of vision, the quality of hearing, and everything else that arises. Your vision is so much better, your hearing is so much better, you taste food completely differently than you would have before. So the impingement on the sensory basis causes the sense basis to be used to, so you don't fully enjoy it as you would have before. But having given that amount of rest to the sense basis, it's like everything is brand new again.
Thanks.
In front of you.
So a question about the Satipatthana Sutta. At the very end, this is perplexed me. At the very end, it says, and if you follow this path, you will achieve one of two objectives, and that is either the full destruction of the taints, or if not that, Anagami.
Right.
What is the difference? I thought about that.
Yeah, that's a good question because here, and this is not only in Satipatthana Sutta, I've seen it come across in a couple of other places, but he talks about because they're still clinging to the Dhamma. The difference is that. So in the process of experiencing Nibbana as a result of following the Satipatthana and going into jhana and so on, the mind experiences Nibbana, but if there's any clinging there, any kind of identification there, then there'll still be some work to be done. But if there's no identification going on there at all, then there's nothing to be done after that.
We have a number of Anagamis.
Yeah.
They don't seem to push through to the next
Yeah.
one, and many people really can go 1, 2, 3, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Wall.
Yeah.
And there's surmised that maybe in this time period people are not prone to that. They don't have the merit.
I think your mic just ceased.
Anyway, they don't. Jordan.
Yeah.
that maybe they don't have the merit.
That's one interpretation, that they don't have the merit, but I think the other is that whole thing about clinging to the Dhamma, you know. Um Clinging to the Dhamma essentially can mean a variety of things, but that crucial moment after experiencing Nibbana is about totally letting go. And it's nearly impossible because it feels so good. The mind is so clear that it just wants to identify with it. It just grabs it. It's just like, oh yeah, that's great. I want more of that, you know? And the other thing is, yeah, I would say it requires a lot more practice outside of formal sitting. This is why I'm talking about recognizing conceit in every moment, trying to just keep loosening that identification process that's going on through conceit. That will then translate into when that happens again, or if that happens again, where the mind just doesn't keep automatically grab onto it. It's just, okay, there it is.
What about the theory of, we're in the third century after the Buddha died, and it said that there are no more arahats, that
Yeah.
there can only be anagamis.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the fourth is there's only saptagamis and sotapams and nothing after 5,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
It's a Burmese commentary.
yeah,
There's other commentaries with 500 years, 1,000 years.
right.
So, you make anything of that?
I think that's a disheartening message.
We'll let it go.
But I think the logic of this, and I spoke to some people here about that long time ago, or a few months ago actually, about this, that the logic behind that would mean that, okay, so let's say after 500 years or after 1,000 years, certain attainments are gone, and then only after a certain point of time, you'd only have sotapannas, for example, right? Sotapannas and sakadagamis, or just sotapannas. But regardless, after that, the Dhamma will go. But then what happens to those sotapannas? How long do they have to wait to become sakadagamis, or how long do they have to wait to become anagamis later on? Do they have to wait until the Dhamma comes back again? Because that's a long life if they're up to 7 lifetimes or up to 1 lifetime.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but that's just a question to that, I mean, how would that work?
My last question is, what is the best ride?
Oh, Mr. Freeze. Followed by Batman. Followed by, what was that one where we went backwards like that and then came back? Was it Boomerang or something? Boomerang. So Mr. Freeze, the Batman, and Boomerang. Those 3. Oh yeah, Ninja Warrior, that's right. That was a good one too.
Frankly, I enjoyed the teacups.
I did like the Ferris wheel too. That was fun too,
That's a very high Ferris wheel.
Yeah, it was. So
So anyway, what are you doing for next week now?
Somebody over here. I just had a question. You mentioned peri-nibbana, and it extinguishes, I think you said 3 things?
so Parinibbana is basically the final Nibbana of an Arhat or a Buddha. It's the last time they go into Nibbana, and then that's it. The 5 aggregates cease. But I think you're talking about the 3 types of contact.
Yeah.
It's the empty contact, signless contact, and undirected contact. So signless contact means that there's no object being taken. Empty contact means that there is no self being taken personally. And undirected means that there is no intention there. It's just whatever is arising, which is the Nibbana element.
Thanks, Delson, for your words. I have a question about the new recent Samyutta Nikaya 41.6, Cheat to the Householder. So understood that mental formations for feeling and perception and physical formations, at least in the sutta, was just like the breathing
Yeah.
in, breathing out. And then the verbal formations were thinking and examining thought.
Yeah.
But thinking and examining thought strike me as mental activities.
No. No.
It's
This
not
is
connected to the verbal, but like thinking and
so. Here's a difference. So with thinking and examining thought, there's an intentionalizing going on. You're bringing up an object. Everything else after that, after you let go, whatever it is that you're perceiving, you're not intentionally bringing up the thought. But whatever it is you're perceiving in the form of whatever thoughts arise, that's related to mental formations. Feeling and perceiving, which is the process of actually observing what thoughts are arising.
so feeling is so mental formations, feeling and perception. Feeling is passive; it happens to you.
Right. Right.
Thinking, there's no real intention with perception because feeling and perception just go together. But when it comes to thinking and examining thought, that requires intention.
That's right.
Why that's connected to a verbal formation.
That's right.
Thank you.
Hi. Today you mentioned that there are realms of unconscious beings. I'm wondering who that would be.
So that happens when the mind and body go into a form of suspended animation. And the way that works is the last thought that was present. Okay, so first, a being will enter a state of suspended animation, different from Nirodha or Nirodha Samapatti. It's where the mind is completely unconscious. It basically suppresses the entire mind into unconsciousness. There's nothing there at all. There's not even consciousness or awareness to know that you were there. So it could be mistaken for cessation for that reason. The difference is the cessation arises from letting go, whereas this state of unconsciousness arises from or happens due to suppression of the hindrances, suppression of the mental faculties. And when that happens, when the being dies, it ends up in the realm of the unconscious beings. They're not aware that they were there. They're not aware what's going on, and nothing is going on there for some period of time. Whatever thought arises after that, in that lifetime, is what will propagate and facilitate the new life for them after the realm of the unconscious beings.
So are you talking about ghosts then?
No. These are just beings that are in suspended animation. Their mind is in suspended animation. They have a physicality. They're related somewhere around the fourth Brahmaloka. So they're not having anything to do with ghosts.
Earlier today, you were talking when you were talking about cessation. It seemed like you were saying that mind is involved in cessation. My understanding would have been that mind isn't involved in cessation because that's why it's cessation. So could you say more about that? And you were it was sort of like there were two things that were happening. One was that the mind stopped while you were in cessation, but then the mind was involved in, it's certainly involved in the recognition that that's where you were, but how does that relate to the actual experience of Nibbana? That's why it really has to do with the experience of Nibbana, that mind is, whether mind is involved in the experience of Nibbana and so on.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There is a difference between Nibbana and Nirodha. Cessation is the experience of complete blank, not even knowing that you were in there. And Nibbana happens when the mind touches it, and then as a result of touching it, when it comes out. So it's like a fraction of a moment where as soon as it comes out of cessation, it touches the Nibbana element. And then as a result of that contact, there is feeling of joy and relief. So those are two different things in that sense.
Okay, so it does have to do with Nibbana, with the Nibbana experience. Mind
That's correct. That's correct.
Her question about the unconscious beings, like a drug overdose person, they're alive, but because it would, and I also think that people who are in comas aren't always unconscious.
Yeah, I would say people who are in comas are not unconscious. But certain things can lead you to unconsciousness, and then when you die in unconsciousness, yeah, that can take you there too. Yeah.
I think, well, my first question is, every cessation will touch with Nibbana element. My understanding is not really,
No, not really.
right?
Mm.
My second question is, I think I kind of understand when you were explaining about the Pala-samapati versus Nibbana-samapati. Nibbana-samapatis will involve in like total complete cessation, but Pala-samapati,
There is still mind at play
state
there.
mind is there.
Yeah.
Okay, like, but that is totally engaged
Yeah.
per se with the Nibbana element.
Right.
Two different things.
Right.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, I know you explained cessation and Nibana and Nirodha. Did I miss the definition of Nirodha? Can you please explain?
So here's the thing. Nirodha has like 7 different definitions because it depends upon usage and context. There's dukkha nirodha, there's bhava nirodha, there's tanha nirodha, all of these different ways of understanding nirodha. Then there is sanya vedyatita nirodha, which is the Pali for cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. So when we use the word nirodha, generally speaking, we're referring to the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. Oh.
I have one speculative question and one clarification question. So the speculative question is, you mentioned something yesterday about how there was this question about how someone can go into cessation and come out if their mind is turned off, if you will. Like if they're in cessation, and how do you know to come up after 15 minutes or 6 days or whatever it is. And I'm wondering if, how much influence do we have over our formations? Because I was wondering if, the formations, if our consciousness is shaped by our formations, and if we can somehow influence our formations, that'll later trigger the consciousness in 6 days or 15 minutes or something like that. So this question of if the mind isn't there, quote unquote, because everything has ceased, like how does it know to come up? Well, maybe it's not the mind that knows per se, it's the intention was that somehow the formation that gives rise to that consciousness at the time that we wanted to come up. I'm speculating, does that sound like something that might be possible?
So you have to understand that we always have influence over our formations, even in the waking state. It's our intentions that influence the arising of the next formations. So when it comes to cessation, you set the intention and you let it go. So it seems like what could be happening is that the formations are ceased for that duration. But because there are vital formations, the ayu sankharas, that are keeping things going, that it's from that level that the intention is set in, so that it knows when to come out.
Okay. Just wanted to also ask a quick question about karma, and see if I understand another aspect of it. I think you mentioned once, if we start to understand karma, we stop taking things personally in terms of our interactions with other people. So I was thinking last night, is it like like when you go to a carnival, you're with bumper cars. Like people are bumping into you through no real choice of their own sometimes because they have no idea what they're doing. Sometimes they do, right? And so when I've interacted with people who've been, mean to me or hurt me, blah, 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 or even been good to me, it would be fair to say they were acting out of their karma, they didn't realize what they were doing, if you will. Again, you forgive them because they didn't know what they were doing. Not absolving of responsibility, but they had no idea that they're just kind of caught up in the stream. Don't take it personally. And people who, I don't know, were good to me, my friends, etc., you might say, they're also caught in this karmic stream, in this bumper car world, right? But they're making better choices, or choices that I guess align with my stream, and so that it's not painful. But either way, whether they're choices that I like or choices that I don't like, again, it's like bumper cars. People are just kind of bouncing off each other and things are happening, so you shouldn't take anything that people do personally.
Yeah, if that analogy works for you, that's great, because that's the ultimate realization, that nothing is personal. Everything is impersonal. The mind always has a tendency to want to make meaning out of things. And that comes from conceit. So why is it that this person did this? Or why is it that they said it this way? Or did it mean something else? All of those things, is causing the mind suffering. So if you take your thoughts impersonally, and if you just let go of what other people are doing, you won't have any suffering.
I'm going to try to formulate my question. It's a little nebulous, but one of the things that you said was that feeling, perception, and consciousness, and the Buddha said it, they circle around each other. And the other thing is, when reflecting on what mentality is, you have intention, attention, perception, feeling, and contact. So when you're observing consciousness and you have feeling and perception of consciousness, when you drop attention on that, how does that interact with intention, and where is the contact? I guess the contact is the observation of feeling, perception, and consciousness, how it works together.
Yeah,
how it circles around.
Yeah, that's a good question, because you could look at attention being embedded in contact, because attention is how consciousness flows. So if your attention is where, I should say, consciousness flows. Where you put your attention, there consciousness will flow. So if that's the case, and contact is the union of sense-based object and sense-based consciousness, then that means that consciousness and attention are embedded in contact. And contact then gives rise to the feeling and perception, but contact also gives rise to intention. There's a sutta which is Anguttara Nikaya 6.63. It's called the Nibbana Sutta, or it's also known as the Penetrative Discourse. And there the Buddha talks about contact being the source for feeling, perception, and intention, as well as for karma, because intention and karma are basically interrelated. So when you have contact with something, that's the only time you can have an intention to do something.
Okay. So then, taking that a little, further, so you're sitting in just bare awareness, or how did we call it? We called it
The signless.
the signless.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in the signless, and at some point you drop attention.
Yeah.
So you're saying the attention and then consciousness drops.
Yes.
Because you've dropped the attention.
Right.
And where's the part of the intention?
Yeah. So the intention there would be to drop it. So that's where they're interrelated as well. The contact can give rise to intention, and the intention could be to pay attention. Yeah.
I'm trying to experience what you're saying.
So for example, the contact right now is between your eyes and this form and color, and then there's the consciousness of that. But that's because you're paying attention to this. If I point to this flower here, then now the attention is going there. But there was an intention to pay attention to that. And in paying attention to the intention, paying attention to that, there was now contact that arose with that particular flower.
So then going into cessation, but yeah, can you go through that again?
Yeah. So in going through cessation, what you're doing is you have the intention. Okay, so, well, here's the thing. Do we want to talk about cessation as an attainment to go into, or cessation where it just happens?
We're both.
Okay. Yeah.
Go slowly so I
Cessation as attainment and cessation.
As, yeah. So cessation as an attainment. What's going on there is, prior to you even sitting down, you have an intention that the mind will enter cessation for a certain period of time. That intention is then let go of, meaning your mind doesn't get obsessed by that intention. And you essentially trust the process. And the key there is to just let go. Is to, in other words, whatever's happening in the practice, whatever's happening in the sit, you keep just relaxing and letting go. And your attention is on nothing in particular. It's not directed anywhere in particular. You're just letting go. You basically are, in some sense, ignoring, not exactly ignoring, but you're just not interested in paying attention to any objects. And at a certain point, you come to that signless state. And at that point, you don't do anything at all, because there's nothing else to do after that. And once that happens, at a certain point, because no attention is being given to whatever might be arising in the background, because the attention is what is fueling the arising of further formations and further consciousness. You let go of trying to pay attention to anything at all. You let go of trying to look at something in particular. And then you keep relaxing, and then the mind just sinks into cessation.
So could you say it's okay to be wanting but not craving?
That's right. Now the other cessation, without the attainment, which is the cessation that you just drop into. In principle, that's the same thing that's going on. It's the difference is really there's no intention there. There's no intention to go into cessation.
You didn't put the seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Intention.
Right.
You just sat down.
Right, and kept letting go.
Said, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's it. And you keep letting go, keep relaxing, until again you get to that signless experience. And then over there you don't do anything, and then you just keep the mind relaxed. And eventually, due to non-attention to any formations arising, the mind just shuts down.
Just quickly, so I've tried this. He knows me. And what kind of facilness with the practice is necessary for an intended cessation to happen? And then the second part of that is, if that happens, would that be concurrent or followed with the experience of Nibana? And would that in turn also be in concurrence with an attainment?
Okay, so first of all, traditionally speaking, and I'm in agreement with this, is it makes more sense that an Anagami would be able to enter cessation because they have less fetters to deal with, which means they have less hindrances to deal with. There's no sensual craving and there's no aversion. At that point, they might be dealing with a little bit of sloth and torpor and restlessness, let's say. So it's much easier for them to start the practice of trying to attain cessation. And what you need really is good mental malleability. So that's why the exercise of the determinations is crucial to that. And, you know, sometimes people do the determinations and sometimes they have good success and sometimes they kind of fall off because it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's just too much going from one jhana and then the second jhana and then all the way to the eighth and then doing the same thing over with, you know, it's just like a whole exercise that you have to do.
Sounds tedious.
Yeah.
But wonderful.
But worth it. But what happens is, so I would say for those of you who want to do determinations, don't put a time limit on it. Don't say, I have to do it within the next 2 weeks or I have to get it done by the next month. Take time with it. Really pursue it and enjoy it. Once you're able to master that, then cessation is a piece of cake.
I like cake. And then the last part of that question
Is Nibbana. And yeah, so Nibbana follows, or you could say Nibbana is there in cessation, or can be there in cessation, I should say. Because not all the time when you experience cessation do you touch the Nibbana element. Because you haven't developed enough insight over there, which is dependent upon discernment. So you can enter cessation, but you don't touch the Nibbana element. You haven't let go at a very deep level the core roots of whatever it is that's still remaining, like the conceit and so on. So that practice of doing that then will take you to Nibbana.
And then the last part of that question, does that always result in an attainment?
If a Nibbana experience is followed by a cessation experience, then that means there is an attainment.
Nirvana experience by cessation.
Followed by a cessation experience. But I want to make sure that nobody misconstrues what I just said there. Because some people can experience upon hearing the Dhamma. And they just let go. And it's like relief. They've experienced something where there is a shift. So there's a follow-up to that, where there's a noticeable shift in the mindset and a noticeable shift in the perspective and personality. And also, Nibbana can be accessible once you've let go completely. Like you have done and walked the path, completed the path and all of that. Then at that point, Nibbana is always accessible.
So you mean as an arahat or?
Right.
But not an
Not the lonely peons.
There's a real motivator.
An Anagami's not a peon. It's a noble being.
Yes.
I'm sort of swimming around with all this and feel like a little over my head.
Yeah.
In the discussion back and forth. And I guess maybe one way of getting at it is, I mean, I know in Nibana there's no perception, there's no awareness, there's nothing. In the eighth jhana, there's certainly awareness, perception may be a little flaky, coming and going, etc. And cessation, at least in my mind, kind of hangs out in between there.
Mhm.
Is there any perception, in cessation, or is that?
No, no.
Is that just way too much?
Yeah, no perception at all in cessation.
Okay, so we're talking about different intensities, strengths, flavors of awareness, and all that.
And then at that point, it's zero at cessation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zero at cessation, then you would not know it.
You wouldn't know you were in it until you came out of it. Or that some people can recognize themselves going into it, sinking into it, and there's just like clawing, like, no, I don't want to go. It's like they're on that roller coaster again, and they just don't want to go.
Yeah, no, I felt that. I can
Yeah.
see it coming and say, well, maybe tomorrow. I mean, I feel like I'm hanging out in space there, and it's,
That's the sense of self. That's like, it's like, oh, if I go back there again, I'm gonna collapse and I won't come back again. That's the conceit. That's yeah. Yeah, cessation is dying. It's you're practicing how to die.
okay, I'll swim around.
It's difficult. I mean, that's absolutely. I think the person behind you had a question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of addressed it, but I was just going to ask, what are the like you go into a little bit of the factors that lead to a cessation followed by contact with Nibbana versus not followed by contact?
Yeah. So that was the insight and the discernment. Yeah.
Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Okay. So what that means is that there has to be a certain level of awareness and mindfulness to be able to look very, very, very closely. And prior to all of that formal sitting, there has to be consistent use of the 6 R's to continue to let go of whatever fetters, roots, and hindrances are still present. Because the more you do that, it has a cumulative effect. And it creates a momentum so that with all that momentum, Nibbana, touching Nibbana is possible.
So don't analyze, obviously, but look at
Yeah, exactly. Don't analyze. Be more mindful. Be more clear. Be more sharp in your discernment. But that's all dependent upon what you do in your daily practice, in your daily life. How much you're able to 6R and let go. So it's a matter of walking the path over and over and over. Yeah. Oh. 10,000 steps.
Per day. Okay, Delson, I have a need to know practically.
Yeah.
How does one actually sit down and practice determinations 2 minutes at a time in and out of jhanas? How do you keep track? Is there a timer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole process. There's a whole process. You go to the Dhamma Sukha website and you look for determinations.
Oh, it's there.
It's on the menu. Look for determinations.
Menu.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, well.
Okay, so it's on the menu and you
Yeah.
can get it at dhammasukha.org.
That's right.
Okay, that was very good, thanks.
Just back here. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
Just following on from the determination practice, what's the benefit of practicing cessations as an Anagami? Is there is it kind of building oneself to for the arahantship? What is in this cessation practice? It's beneficial for somebody to do that.
So there's a lot of relief in there. That's really it. It's a great amount of relief to go into cessation because you have cut off all connections with the external world and the internal world. That is to say, you shut off your mind and you experience great amounts of relief. That's the one benefit, number one benefit. And I would say if, as an Anagami, someone is able to continue to practice cessation, that they should continue to practice cessation because that'll only make things easier for them to be able to recognize a noticeable shift between when they do attain Nibbana. Because there will be something different that arises as compared to when they're just going into cessation as an exercise. When they're just practicing, when they're just sitting and they're continuing to let go and the mind goes into cessation and it comes out touching the Nibbana element, there's a noticeable difference. So you'll be able to discern between the two.
I just have one more question now.
Yeah, there's one in the back too.
So I often wonder in the suttas, so when the Buddha's in Deer Park talking to the five ascetics, or in MN 111, I think, 1 by 1, where he describes Sariputa's enlightenment and awakening, we never hear any of them going through Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahat. They're always just right to Arahat.
Well, in the case of the Deer Park, the first sermon, Kondonya attains stream entry. That's what it says. Yeah. But then later on, in the second sermon with the Anatalakkhana Sutta, they attain Arahatship.
But Sariputta, at least in MN 111, doesn't, it just seems like he goes right to Arahat.
Yeah, no, but before that, he attains stream entry upon hearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's implied.
We have one more back here.
So, just one need, or actually in some traditions of Buddhism, religions of Buddhism, they say just up to 4th jhana is enough to, get to enlightenment, or, is that correct, or is that you should get to there or the...
Well, I think you should understand it in this way, that you can attain cessation from the 1st jhana onwards. Yeah.
Do people ever go into cessation not knowing? I mean, I don't mean in practice, I mean walking in the world.
Oh, yeah. There have been a few cases where people are just walking and then they blank out and like, what happened? And all of a sudden they experience this euphoria. And so it can happen. It'll probably be startling while they're driving though. Yeah.
So I'm getting the sense that, correct me if I'm wrong, cessation doesn't seem to be, is cessation necessary and sufficient for Nibbana? And the reason I ask is because I think of other traditions, like I know like other monks, right, who they say, if you understand impermanence, you'll reach enlightenment, and they only meditate on the body and what it looks like on the inside and corpses, and that's it. They don't talk about jhanas, they don't talk about cessation, nothing. All they do is impermanence of the body, impermanence of the body. And they claim that they have some, arahants in their order. So it makes me think, okay, so, meditation aside, are there other ways to reach Nibbana that don't involve cessation, or cessation necessary?
Like I told you, somebody has upon hearing. So over there, they must have dropped for a moment and experienced great relief and joy and attained Nibbana.
So, regardless of the route, people will go through cessation to Nibana, whether they do like twin kind of practice or they hear it or some other practice, they'll drop.
No. Not all cessations are the same. You can enter cessation through yoga practice too, but you don't experience Nibbana from there.
Also cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cessation is not necessary for...
No, what I'm saying is there are different traditions that have cessation. But you need right view in order for you to experience Nibbana.
That's the bedrock, right? Right view.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about let go about intention, and you said to do it daily in our lives. For some of us, it has to work. I'm trying to visualize it in my head. How would I do it? Because a lot of time at work, you're like, okay, I intend to go to lunch at noon, and I intend to see 30 patients, or whatever. So there's always that intention of a time frame, because our daily schedule is this and this and this. And I don't know how possibly to let go of that. If you would mind just kind of advise slowly, how do we do it in a daily life? I guess, okay, I intend to get up at 7 o'clock. Should I just say, just get up at 7 o'clock, no intention, and get up whenever I get up? It doesn't seem to work. It's because without an intention of a time, I feel like I won't accomplish that goal. And then, so there's a conflict in what we're learning here to how I would practice in my daily life. So if you would mind elucidating that.
I just want you to clarify the question again, because what you're saying is, if I'm understanding correctly, is that you make an intention to say wake up at 7 o'clock, as opposed to waking up
whatever time. So when you say let go, try to let go of intention and practice daily through our lives. And I guess my question would be, how do I let go of intention where so much of our jobs require some type of intention?
So, okay, intention rooted in craving. Let go of intention rooted in craving and conceit. Yeah.
I may have misperceived. Earlier you mentioned something about cessation after Nibbana.
No. Cessation after Nibbana?
Something.
That's why I said.
Yeah.
People seem to have heard it. What did you say?
In what context do you remember?
Just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe it was transposed Nibbana after cessation.
Yeah.
I heard it cessation after Nibbana, cessation after Nibbana. So that was just maybe a transposition.
Nibbana after cessation, cessation after Nibbana, Nibbana after cessation.
That's a new mantra.
That's right.
Second question is there any difference other than quantitatively between these micro cessations versus just cessation of 5-10 minutes a day, 2 days, 6 days? If one experiences 6, 7, 8, 10 cessations, kind of micro cessations with the sense of relief, etc., in one sitting, is there a difference in terms of the attainment, the results, versus someone who just sits for 5 days, 6 days?
So, there is a concept of micro cessations, which means that the mind kind of winks out. And it's different from sloth and torpor. It's like it especially happens in neither perception and non-perception, where there's very little perception going on and there's no fuel for the mind, so it just winks out for a moment and comes back. And when it comes back, It's very luminous. The mind is very bright, radiant, luminous. But I would not call that a full-blown cessation. It's just the mind is starting to, tiptoe towards the edge of the cliff, but it hasn't really fully, dive deep into it. The other part of your question was?
It's accompanied by sense of relief,
Yeah.
joy, all that also.
Yeah, but then you're saying it happens continuously, that you go into micro cessations, you dip and you experience, dip and experience, dip and experience. Yeah, that's just the mind winking out and experiencing a deeper clarity. Because the joy you feel will be extreme. You will feel happy, you will feel relieved, but it's because in those dips of micro cessation, the mind has let go quite a lot, but not enough to warrant a attainment. Yeah. Oh, who has the mic? Oh, after Nat.
So, I just want to make sure that I'm tracking this right. Nibbana is always preceded by cessation, whether it's for a split second or hours.
Right. So are you saying cessation after Nibbana, or?
No. All I'm saying is when someone has an experience of Nibbana, so either path or fruit.
Yeah.
This is a question. So that is always preceded by cessation, correct?
Yeah.
Whether it's for, a microsecond or longer.
Okay, so I just told him over there that when you go into microsecond of cessation and you keep dipping in there, it's not full-blown cessation.
Okay.
If you keep dipping in and out.
Yeah, so my understanding is you can definitely have cessation. When you come out of it, there's a sense of relief, but there may not be path or fruit from that.
If it's a micro cessation.
If it's a micro.
Yes.
But the big ones, the path and fruit Nibbanas, my question is, my understanding is they are always preceded by cessation. That there's no going direct to a Nibbanic experience. You're always going to go through cessation.
When somebody hears the Dhamma also, that can happen. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but so if somebody were listening to the Dhamma and they had a path or fruit moment, aren't they still going through cessation even if it's a microsecond of it?
Yes, it can happen.
Let me ask this a different way. So this goes back to really what I'd asked Bhante V about this a number of times.
Yeah.
And it's really just a technical thing.
Yeah.
My understanding is that for Nibbana, path and fruit, so his answer was, I said, Bhante, do you always go through cessation to get into Nibbana to have path of fruit experience? And he said, yes. To me, I don't see a way to go just directly to Nibbana. You're gonna have to go through cessation, even if it's short. Not all short cessations result in path and fruit.
That's right.
But it could.
Yes.
It isn't a must.
It's not a must. So just using what you said so that I can clarify for him, because he's going to get a little confused by what I said and then what I told you.
I almost feel like I need to come and whiteboard this.
Yeah, I know. We have a whiteboard, so.
Am I making sense?
Yes, you are making sense about that. But you see what's happening there in the case of somebody upon hearing and experiencing that, it's because they fully understood the Dhamma at that moment.
Sure.
Which means there is proper amounts of insight and discernment. Whereas in this case, if it's a micro cessation, you have to see how much insight is there, how much clarity of mind is in there before the mind dips into micro cessation.
Okay, so not to muddy the waters, but we're both talking about there is a micro cessation without path and fruit, and my question is, there's a micro cessation or a macro one and path and fruit. So Nibbana is always preceded by cessation.
Right.
Thank you.
Terry had her hand up a while, so we're gonna go to this neighborhood for a minute. Check.
And my question has to do with, I'm not sure what it has to do.
Did you have a cessation? Jordan, David. Oh, okay.
So cessation, no. So we have talked about cessation and Nibbana, but we have not talked one bit about seeing the links.
Yes.
And that's a big deal.
That's a big one. All right, let's get into it. So when do you see the links of dependent origination? When do you guys think you see the links of dependent origination? Okay, I heard all different answers here. Okay, how many people think it happens before Nibbana?
Well, kind of, right? It's a practice, right?
And how many think that it happens after Nibbana? It happens after Nibbana.
Yes!
Okay, here's what happens. When you see the links of dependent origination, what does that mean when you see them? Now, as I said, they can arise as squiggles, they can arise as dashes, they can arise as circles, they can arise as different kinds of things because of however the mental models work. And they're just mental representations of how your mind will see them. However, what you are seeing is conditioned, which means that what you are experiencing, what seems like it's concurrent, but it's happening one after the other. Your mind dips into cessation, makes contact with Nibbana. Now that contact is unconditioned. As a result of that unconditioned contact, it conditions a feeling. And so when that feeling arises, what are you seeing there? You're seeing the arising of feeling as a link. And then when there is some kind of joy and relief, the mind looks at that and is like, wow. And then you're seeing the next arising of dependent origination. You're seeing contact and feeling and perception tied to it and other things ahead of it.
So is that the rebooting, the total reboot, cold reboot, and then the OS is starting to kick in, and then it just prolificates into the all, everything.
Yeah, but that is only after you touch Nibbana.
So you touch Nibana, and that's the unconditioned.
Unconditioned contact.
Okay,
which then gives rise to a feeling of joy and relief. So when you see the arising of the links of dependent origination, you're seeing feeling which is conditioned by contact with Nibbana. So you can't equate the joy and relief with Nibbana. The joy and relief is a conditioned feeling after Nibbana. And in seeing that, and then followed right after that, is the experience. So in seeing the links of that feeling and whatever arises, is the joy and relief. So you see the links and it's followed by joy and relief, right? Most of you are nodding, so you know what I'm talking about. But what happens is the joy and relief itself is not Nibbana. It is the conditioned feeling happening as a result of Nibbana. Conditioned by Nibbana. By contact with Nibbana.
So it's a transcendental experience.
Yes.
So this is what we did today was the transcendental dependent origination, which is motivated by suffering, by bummers, by I don't like it, I want it to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, then you said the first link then to that is the birth of the transcendental path.
Yes. Then there's faith.
And then the first link after that is faith. So you named a bunch of those links, and I just wanted to clarify the faith link. And that is faith in, are we talking about the Buddha's Dhamma or faith in truth as a existential reality, or what are we talking about faith in? And is that the same as confidence?
So faith is, first and foremost, when you start out on the path, faith does not mean that you have to believe in something. It means you have an open and willing mind to try the practice and see for yourself how it works. As a result of walking the path, what happens is experiential confidence is established. And that is another level of faith. That is conviction in the Buddha Dhamma after having practiced it.
So it's an AD thing.
Right, exactly.
Right. And then from that, the next link is joy, because the experience of Dhamma is
Gladness, pamoja.
Oh, pamoja.
Yeah.
Gladness.
And then joy.
Right. And then, okay.
Right.
Right here.
So, walking the path is a form then of faithfulness, or being faithful to the practice.
Yes, that's one way of looking at it, yes. Meaning you're adhering to the path. You're not trying to make changes. You're not trying to bargain with the path. It's the path or not the path. It's my way or the highway. Right.
And that's being faithful.
That's right. After him, yeah.
So back to the previous topic of seeing the links with parent origination. So we discussed contact, feeling, and perception. And what about the preceding links, meaning the formations themselves, or mentality, materiality? Because you cannot see them, right? It's retroactively that the mind is realizing.
But only after making contact with Nibbana. And I'll tell you one thing though, by the way, sometimes cessation can happen after Nibbana. No, I'm not joking. I'm serious. In some people's cases, cessation has been followed by Nibbana. Very rarely, but it has happened.
With cessation first.
With Nibbana and then cessation.
Nibana without cessation?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's right.
So, but isn't and neither isn't nor is not.
Neither both nor neither either. But these are outliers. It happens, in my experience with interviews, it has happened where somebody has seen the links as a result of touching and then their mind ceases. Which doesn't mean that there wasn't a cessation before that.
This is quantum physics.
That's right. It's a wave and a particle, neither or both, all at the same time.
Back to the formations, because then how are the formations being discerned? It's only happening at a point of feeling and perception.
That's right, yes. Retroactively. Yeah. Mark here. Mark.
What? Mark. Okay.
You use the term waking out, and I've heard that before in like another venue. And my experience of that was that the mind stopped and then it started again. And it almost was trying to understand that, my understanding that was like a depth of concentration, an absorbed state.
Mhm.
that kind of spontaneously happen, and then arising, coming back out of that, and then the consciousness continued. Is that fair?
It can be one way could be where the mind becomes very absorbed and then it just winks out. But in the case of where people are experiencing micro cessations and come back up and they're experiencing some level of relief and luminosity, it's because they're letting go. It's a result of letting go.
Well, I'm just thinking that sometimes this could happen very spontaneously, and they don't even realize it. But the activity that they were engaged in continued, and they came back and made awareness of that, realized there was a space there, and used that as a term to describe that kind of, let's say,
As winking
spacing
out. Yeah. Blanking out, spacing out, winking out. Yeah. Yeah, that can happen. Yes.
When I was writing Buddha's maps, there was no term for all this stuff, and so I made up the term "waking out"
Right.
to cover everything from the top of the wave up through Nibbana.
Yeah.
As a way of kind of punting, because I couldn't sort it out, but there was a phenomena that they had in common.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about here is infinitely more refined.
But that's where I got the term winking out, is from your book. Yeah.
I got it from workshops with the Monroe Institute.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
To the people there during the process. And so people would report that this was their experience, and it was a commonly used term for that. But the activity was still continuing, and yet there would be a gap of awareness, and it was just a way to say this. I missed that part, but because this is what my mind did.
Right. Yeah.
Delson, you talk about touching the Nibbana element and coming out and seeing the links of dependent origination, and the links that are coming out are the pleasant feeling from touching that element. What about, isn't there also like another pleasant feeling where the mind realizes it's seeing the links and it's taking joy and relief and a level of understanding, like, oh, that is how this process works.
Yes. That's followed by having seen the second cycle. So what I'm saying is, when you make contact, right? You make contact, you see the feeling, and then the next conditioned links arise. And that's what you're seeing. Yeah.
So, duration.
Yeah.
Cessations, like how long is a micro and how long is a regular?
Remember what we said, there is no time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My thought, and I also think about, between the experience and the next, like the relief. The relief experience, does it always happen right after the cessation? Or could there be a pause between, whatever you had happen in your meditation and then, an hour later?
Yes, I've had people who have had a cessation experience, didn't realize I had a cessation experience, and I'll tell them in the interview, you've had a cessation experience, and they're like, okay, but you can see in their mind they don't really believe you. And then 2 hours later, they're just walking down the street, and then boom, there's all this euphoria that arises. And then I'll say, I told you so.
Trust and fall into somebody's arms, fall backwards. And then it came to my turn, and I knew I had to let go and let somebody catch me, and I really let go. Like, between deciding to fall and being caught, disappeared.
Oh, sort of like Ananda when he experienced Nibbana just before he hit the pillow. Yeah.
I winked out.
Yeah.
Clarification. If you have that winking
you see the links.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't see the links, you haven't touched the Nibbana element.
Right.
Okay, so if you see the links, it's definitely touching the Nibbana.
Right. But some people just don't see the links at all because their discernment isn't as sharp. But it's followed by great amounts of relief still, which means they've still encountered at least the feeling link.
Okay, so
Don't recognize. That's what they say.
I'm sorry, is that it?
Well, yeah, I still haven't got the sequence business, and it's always been my problem. So when you have the contact, you see, then immediately see the links, which, as described, kind of various patterns and what have you. So that's the link. They're the most basic form of dependent origination presenting itself, and then you go around the circle again, and you come to feeling. That's when you add the feeling,
Right.
and all the consequences of that.
Yes.
Again, and that's when craving and what have you can kick in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if craving doesn't kick in, what does that mean? In the sense that you don't have any strong sense of joy or relief.
That's right. There's equanimity there.
Equanimity.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean then?
That would mean that's Anagami.
Okay, I understand. Right. Thank you.
And if there's no identification there, then the work is done.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's another way of looking at it. Like this bell, right? This singing bowl. I make contact with it, and now all kinds of sound vibrations are coming out of it. So having made contact with Nibbana, the vibrations come up in the form of feeling, which are conditioned by that contact. That's what's going on. So whatever squiggles people see, circles, whatever it is, that's just vibration happening. And your mind is perceiving that vibration a certain way. That's it, depending upon your faculties.
Can I just have one extra question?
Yeah, of course.
It seems to me that it's a really critical moment when you have the contact, and you've got to have really strong mindfulness.
Yes.
And would you say that that is something that is you have to develop through your day-to-day mindfulness? It helps that.
Correct.
That's one of the things I really got from this is actually it's what you do, quote,
Off the cushion. Yeah.
And I think one can do a bit of da-di-da-di-da kind of mind, let it all wander around.
Yeah.
So you're not really practicing. So leading on from that, sorry everyone, I never ask a question, so you have to indulge me. But it's been kind of, it's a question I should have asked many times and I haven't. So is there a way of converting, if that's the right expression, that critical moment when you've seen the links into a full-blown hat experience through stronger mindfulness or not? I sense there's something really important at that.
Yeah. That point is critical, as you just pointed out. It's absolutely critical. But it's automatic, you see.
Yeah. Okay.
It's automatic because it's dependent on all of the stuff that you've done that's led to that moment, that crucial moment. Just like the death process, that moment is so critical.
I shall observe more strongly.
Yeah.
I just want to jump back to the transcendental deal and transcending what and at what level. So we talked about, stream entry, and that's one of the 8 noble persons. That's one of the 8 attainments. So is each attainment transcending those fetters connected with it? And then ultimately, is it the transcendence of dukkha entirely, and the complete total understanding, becoming of the path? So the Arhat doesn't try to become a Dhamma teacher. The Arhat is the Dhamma. So it's the sort of the Anagami, the Sakagami, the
Sotapanna.
Sotapanna that are, kind of in the trying mode, right?
Right.
And that's the training. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's why it's transcendence.
Right.
But it's transcendental at the very beginning. If you're transcending because one's suffering, right, and you have faith, you've transcended suffering already to some degree.
Yes, of course. That's why stream entry feels so awesome.
Well, even before that,
Yeah.
I remember when I first found the Dhamma, I was like, oh, wow. And that was, that was the faith and pamoja kind of all at once.
Yeah.
Right, the gladness. And it was glad, but I hadn't quite started to practice yet. And then I can see that each step is sort of an evolution of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right? Then the next, then
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
Right, and to be joyful is evolutionary from, gladness, of course.
Right. So it's each step transcends the previous.
Bigger wow, bigger. These are just a chain of big wows.
That's right.
But at the big wow of stream entry, there's not the backsliding into
Smaller wows.
Smaller wows.
Wow to the eighth wow.
That's right. Is that it?
Don't be shy. This is the time.
This is the last day, guys, lest you regret it.
I was just going to ask if you could expand more on the joy that arises post contact with the Nibbana element.
Okay.
Does it always have to be this intense joy? And if it's not the intense joy,
The first time around, it's absolutely intense. Because it's unlike anything you've experienced, literally. When you experience that, you drop the first three fetters. The joy, your mind doesn't even realize it, but because the formations have been going around for countless lifetimes, they're like, wow, I don't have to go back to hell anymore. That's a big relief. Yeah. Right? That joy is just unlike anything you've ever experienced. And the relief that's there. I mean, it's so pervasive that people don't sleep. They can't sleep. It's just there all the time. And then it tapers off like everything that's conditioned after a couple of days, after 3-4 days, whatever it might be. So that joy is not piti, that joy is not sukha, that joy is not pamoja, that joy is not mudita. It's just an transcendent joy.
then I just suppose for Dhamma teachers, one thing, we don't really have to go here, but
Yeah.
noble rebirth would be an important thing to factor in for students.
Yes.
Because someone could come to them who's already had this experience.
Yeah.
That they're not necessarily aware of.
That's right.
They don't have this joy, and then the teacher's like, oh, you didn't experience
That's right, exactly. That's right. So for some teachers, they need to have the psychic faculties to be able to realize, oh, this person was already a stream enter.
That's the next retreat, right?
That's right. And I will tell you that there are students who have been stream enters before coming to the path, and they have experienced, but not that level of joy. That's true.
And at the Anagami, it's equanimity that you...
That's equanimity, yes.
So you don't experience that joy.
You don't. That's right.
And sometimes the texture of the joy can be not what you imagine. I mean, it can be
Yeah.
laughter stuff, but it can also be really wide.
It can be. It can be. Sometimes it can be like just this boom of like, whoa, just euphoria that happens. And sometimes it's just, some people just focus more on the relief of it rather than the euphoria of it. And it's like every muscle and sinew in the body is just relaxed. Yeah.
I have another question in a different direction.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
I was the retreat manager at the Easter retreat that you were in. Somebody came up to me afterward and they couldn't talk. And their face was all red. And it was during the Dhamma talk.
Yeah.
I mean, they say, so upon hearing.
That's right.
This is not the first time as a retreat manager.
So the retreat prior to the one that so last year's retreat you're talking about, we had two people experiencing that. Yeah.
I didn't want to overstate this.
Yeah, but we did have two people. Yeah. Just for the record, yeah. During the talk.
And when you're the one talking, it's...
Hey, I take no credit here. This is just the Dhamma.
It's the Buddha's word.
It's the Buddha's word.
Just reciting the Buddha's word.
Yeah.
I did that. I was asked to do that at Dhamma Sukha once, and then somebody came up to me the next day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In Bodh Gaya, I had somebody who was completely new to the Dhamma. And he was, he was a semi-alcoholic, let's say. Like he was on his way to becoming an alcoholic. And so, the people who were in his life were concerned and said, you should do this retreat. So he came and did this retreat in Bodh Gaya. And he was meditating and he just had an experience and he said, wow, my whole field of vision just became bright white and I had all of this joy and relief. And yeah, he had the experience. Then, while he was listening to 148, 6 sets of 6, you could see he was just in his chair like that, just like blissing out. And he said, I had another experience. Then the next day, he was listening to 143, and he had the same experience again. So upon hearing is quite possible.
I'm just wondering if...
Yeah. That's right.
I'm just thinking I'm still a beginner in all this, but I feel overwhelmed a lot of time for all the things that we discussed about what comes first, what comes after, is this happening at this stage, what when, blah, blah, blah. My question would be, does it even matter if I just sit and who cares what stage I'm in, who cares what it is, and just sit and whatever is whatever, instead of, trying to figure it out, because I know the more I try to figure it out, I'm actually hindering myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, darn it, I didn't get that stage. Oh my gosh, what is wrong? It's been 3 hours and I haven't gone yet.
Yeah.
And I find that when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. And I had no problem. So I feel like sometimes knowing more actually slows me down in my practice. So is it okay to let go all of this?
Absolutely. Please let go. Just ignore me.
Well, this was a different area, but it sort of ties in over here. It was you were talking about intuition.
Yeah.
And it's something that we don't talk about a lot, but it's how can I say this? I don't believe in a traditional God as a kind of a dressed up, infinitely perfect Santa Claus. But I strongly feel that all of us, are flowing together here, and so I have, something I do sometimes, which is similar to prayer.
Yeah.
which to me feels like just standing on the edge of what you know and speaking, to the unknown, from your heart. And it may be as simple as, if it's in my highest best interest, please show me what I should be doing next, because this whole stuff sounds overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it comes from the heart, or it doesn't work very well. And I don't remember who it was, but it was some Catholic saint. I think it was a woman who said, well, people have enough faith to pray to God, but most people don't have enough faith to listen.
Yeah.
And so there's this thing about, just asking that and then dropping the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I have gotten lots of corrections in my practice out of that. And it's usually the sort of thing that seems really weird until I sort of get what it is.
Yeah.
How can I see that? So I guess what I'm sort of asking, if you could talk a little bit more about, intuition.
Yeah. So I like what you said about that, because if you think about it, when intuition happens when the mind is quiet. And if the mind is quiet, that means the heart is full.
It's full?
Yeah.
And I find my mind is a lot quieter when I'm listening, when I'm speaking.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So because intuition cannot be born from analysis, cannot be born from reflection, cannot be born from contemplation. Intuition is what speaks outside of the scope of the thinking mind. So when you have a question, when you have some kind of doubt, just quieten the mind and ask the question, and it will come to you. It will come to you. Intuition is this, it's not psychic, it's not a psychic faculty, it's not something that you need to develop like a psychic faculty. The only thing you have to develop is the ability to be present, to be able to hear what the intuition is saying. And it's like this aha moment. It's like a eureka. That's what's the answer, It's not coming from like continuing to think and think and think and think. And, intuition is not just for meditation. I mean, you think about some of the greatest discoveries of the world. Scientists have been trying to figure out something, and they keep analyzing, keep thinking, keep reflecting, and they don't get the answer. And then they just give up, or they just let go, and it's either in the form of a vision or just like all of a sudden. I mean, Eureka, for example, the original Eureka, where was it? It happened in a bathtub, right? He would just like let go, and he was so relaxed, he got the answer. So you cannot force intuition. That's the other thing.
Einstein once said, I did not discover some of the fundamental laws of the universe through the powers of the rational mind. And I think in the West there's this peculiarity where it kind of split the mind apart, and just, which doesn't exist in a lot of other cultures. And I think we talk about mindfulness, sati, and I think it could, see if you agree with this, that it could just as easily be translated as taking something to heart.
Yeah. And actually, Manasikara, Yoniso Manasikara, Manasikara literally means to take something to heart.
Delson, I'd like to go back to the Sunday night meditation. And I've listened to that a couple of times since you did it. And prior to coming here, I don't think I'd ever obtained any arupa jhana states. So when I listen to your meditation, it's a little bit like being a scuba diver, and always before I've always been in the shallow areas next to the beach, where I something like meditation, it's like swimming away from shore, and I'm heading out, and I get into a darker space, and I'm just dangling there. And then the meditation, you bring us back into our body, and we stop, which is a little bit of a letdown. So I'm going to edit the tape, and take
Just let, yeah.
so I can already from there go forward, but I'm just, after your advice, is going forward simply letting it go more often and more, or is there, what can I
just rest in that clarity, and that's it. And then it will sink. It will get deeper.
Will I sink?
No guarantees. But yeah, it will only get clearer and deeper if you just let the mind rest in it. That's it. And if things come up, you in seeing them, they soften and relax, and you just come back and you rest again.
So pretty much just more of the same of what you've done to get us there.
Right. But only when you need it. Otherwise, all you gotta do is rest. Yeah.
I'll send you one where I chop off the end and just let the track go into silence for like maybe 2 hours. And
Well, the track will just come as a stop, and I'll sit there as long as I want.
well, yeah. I mean, my fear is then we'll go to the next song.
Yeah.
On my playlist or something. I'll send that story and see if you can send it out.
Yeah, I'll be happy to send that out. So in regard to that guided meditation, it seems like it was wholly directed toward folks who had some extensive practice in getting to the fourth jhana, and at that point, going through the arupas into clear mind, and I just wanted to make sure that
it is an advanced practice. Yeah, that's why it's called the conceit destroyer. It's not to be taken lightly.
You say that very humbly.
Hey, I didn't make it up, by the way. It was Metananda who came up with that. Venerable Metananda, formerly known as Liam McClintock. Yeah, that's right. Anyone else? Are you delighted and satisfied? Yes. All right. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu.